Welcome back, Guardians, to another episode of Becoming Legend,
What
a
is up,
Destiny
everybody?
podcast.
What is up?
We
What
are
is up?
back. We are back. It is episode 6, and we have some stuff to talk about. Let me tell you.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. First of all, as we're coming up on the end of the season, man, how's your season been?
I would say my season's been fairly good. I enjoyed the seasonal activities. So one of my favorite things from the season was the final battle with the High Celebrant, where he was bringing Fallen and Cabal into the Ascendant Plane. I thought that was mind-blowing.
Yeah, no, it was definitely dope, man.
Oh, yes. Especially since the Ascendant Plane is one of the most powerful spaces in the universe where you have to have a certain level of power or lifeblood or worm god powers to exist in there. So the fact that they're able to gain that ability to survive in there is really scary. It means that our enemies are becoming more powerful.
Yes, but also us Guardians are becoming more powerful as well, so I'm fine with it.
Right.
You know?
That's right.
You know, power creep is real on both sides.
Especially when you get a power boost by 50 every season.
You know.
I'm sure they're terrified of that. Speaking of seasons, this is a very interesting time in the Destiny 2 universe where we are right on the crux between Season 12, Season of the Hunt, and beginning tomorrow, February 9th, Tuesday, Season 13, Season of the Chosen, where we are introducing a new villainess, Caiatl, the Empress of the Cabal. I am so excited to finally meet her and see her. I had to say, when I saw her in the trailer, it blew my mind. Like, she's one of my favorite villains that we haven't met yet, and I can't wait to see what they do with her.
Yeah, I agree. I've been very excited also because there's very few female Cabal of note, at least that we know of yet. And it was very interesting to learn or to have it confirmed that female Cabal have tusks. Originally, they talk about like female Cabal having tusks, but they weren't sure if it was just, for ornamentation's sake, if it was like something that they took from another animal and they put on as like jewelry. But no, confirmed in the trailer, she has tusks, which is even scarier if we're being honest. Like tusks means that animal can do some damage. And we've seen what the men of the Cabal can do, but I'm quite scared to see what a female Cabal can do.
As am I. Now, listeners and viewers to the podcast, you may be wondering, who is Caiatl and why should we care? To give a quick summary of that, this goes all the way back to the beginnings of Destiny 2. As you remember, brief summary, we were attacked by the Cabal Empire and they destroyed our tower. They sent us to live on this farm on Earth for a while. It was a sad time. Their leader, Gaul, who usurped the previous Emperor Calus. I'm giving you these names because you need to remember them. Calus and Gaul, and we'll get to Caiatl. So, Gaul was the leader of the Red Legion temporarily after he usurped Calus and sent him off into the Nether. We'll get into that later. Calus came to Earth, was clapped by the Guardians. We'll just sum it up. It's a little bit of a story, but he got clapped by the Guardians and he lost. Since then, all of the Red Legion, the armies and swarms of Cabal that he brought with him to this solar system, now don't really have a leader, don't really have anything to do. And they've made a couple attempts to try to reform and stake their claim in our solar system, but we're Guardians. We're not going to have that. So we just destroy them every single time. But now they're starting to hear radio signals from the home planet of the Cabal from the new Empress, the daughter of Calus, the usurped, the exiled, Caiatl. Mr. xTweeziix, what would you like to tell us about Caiatl? Give us a little bit.
Well, I think, again, the biggest thing about Caiatl that you need to know is not even so much about her. She doesn't show up until more recently in the lore compared to someone like Calus. And if I can, I'm going to harp on Calus for a little bit.
Yes, please.
only because, the Cabal before Calus became emperor were a very militaristic society. They were led by, I believe the pronunciation is the Praetorian and their legion. So it was just a whole bunch of different factions aligned under a single leader. And the Praetorians' goals was to continue to, for lack of a better term, they would continue to punish the people underneath them. They would continue to make life hard for the people that served underneath them because they thought that made them stronger people. It made them better fighters, and they just reaped all the rewards. When Calus became emperor, the first thing that he did was he dissolved the Praetorian, and he took all of their wealth and gold and began distributing it to the masses. And Calus was an emperor unlike any other emperor who focused a lot more on what he could do to build his race better. The Cabal are a race that also assimilates other races and brings them into the fold and kind of tries to find ways to work with him. And that very much is Calus. Calus is also known for opulence and wealth and lounging around, like there's things of him sitting on a throne and just kind of relaxing. And he's very much, like the chill one, he doesn't attack if, he doesn't believe in, forcing his military might on everyone all the time to show that he's the boss. Like he treats his people well and all this stuff. That upset a lot of people, especially a person called the Consult who was upset because he was a member of the Praetorian and he was obviously reduced from his rank. He watched all of his gold and all of his wealth be handed out to people who were lesser than him. And so he and other members of Calus's council started trying to come up with a plot against him. They found Gaul, who was a very powerful warrior. Gaul, for the longest period of time, was actually one of Calus's favorite people because he was such a powerful warrior. He was given control, I believe, of the Red Legion by Calus. I believe. I'm going to put that as a caveat there. I believe.
Yes, he was recruited from the stadium that he created, from the Colosseum.
From the Colosseum.
Gaul was actually outcast as a child because he was an albino Cabal member, which, the Cabal is also one of those species where at the time when they were a militant society, they would cast out their weak. And when Gaul was born, he was cast out as weak and really was exiled as society for the majority of his life until I believe he was discovered by the consul, brought to the Colosseum where he displayed his power and his strength. And that's where he fell in with Calus.
Yes, it is. And then eventually it led to Consul and the other members leading to an overthrowing of Calus and instating Gaul as the leader of the Cabal. Calus was thrown onto his ship, the Leviathan, and cast out into space, exiled from his world, never to return. And then Gaul set his sights on Earth. They discovered the Traveler, and the Red War happened. I don't think I need to harp over what happened in the Red War. If you are a new player, we might jump into it at a different time, because that's like the entire first year of Destiny is that campaign. So that's a lot of stuff to go over. The important things are Gaul gets defeated, and then as Bird has said, unfortunately, all of the Red Legion who followed Gaul, who came and invaded the Sol system, were left leaderless, and so we've had multiple different factions and multiple different members of the Cabal that were here in our solar system trying to, recreate the faction or be the new head, but it never took over. And Caiatl is Calus's daughter. Caiatl is very famous for being, I want to say a fighter pilot. I can't remember what she flew, but she had grown very close to the person who at the time was called General at Arms, or I can't remember what the official term of it is, and we'll correct it later. But pretty much the person in charge of all of the military was very much concerned about outside forces, and then Caiatl fell under her tutelage and kind of also started worrying about forces that were going to attack the Cabal, and was very focused on becoming militaristic and protecting the strength of the empire. And it led to a falling out between Calus and his daughter. When Calus was cast out, she was a part of the party that cast him out. And so she is now, thanks to the power vacuum left when Gaul was defeated, she is now taken over command, and she is leading her forces here to our solar system, partially in response to all of the damage that we as Guardians have done, and all of the things that we of Guardians have done to defeat the Cabal and whatever endeavors that they're going on. And then the other reason why she's coming is because as the darkness continues to play a bigger force in what's happening in our solar system, we're starting to see the ripple effects and how it's not just affecting us or the fallen, but it's starting to affect the other races as well. So.
Yes, that is very correct. So now we've gone over exactly who is Caiatl, and with the coming season 13, Season of the Chosen, we're going to be discussing what she is doing here in our solar system and what will be the results of her presence. As Mr. xTweeziix mentioned, she is here in part as a response to the damage that we've done as Guardians. We defeated her father. Then later we started working for her father briefly, and now her father's missing. We defeated the then Emperor of the Cabal. We've defeated every single piece of force that the Cabal Empire has sent to us. So now she's coming to present a peace offering, but really it's going to be a peace offering with a stab in the back, most likely. The Cabal Empire is now starting to see the effects of another threat, the Wrathborn, the remnants of Season 12, Season of the Hunt, as Cabal are also starting to become infected and how do I want to put this? As Cabal are starting to be changed into Wrathborn and serve Shivu Arath, that it's a new threat towards the Cabal Empire. So Caiatl is coming to speak with us as Guardians and propose a truce where we use our light and now our darkness hand in hand with her legionary army to face the Hive as sort of the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of deal. But yeah, it doesn't really work out that way. I forget where I'm going to go with that.
I mean, she asks Zavala to bend the knee and bow to her. And yes. I don't know if that's because it's just hubris, because of the fact that she is the Empress and she has to put on a show of force in front of all of her people. I don't know if it's because she really thinks that highly of herself or that the Guardians are in a weaker state, because she's never really fought against us. The big thing with her coming in is, again, when they introduced the Wrathborn, these are, if you go back and you read the Call of the Cryptolith is the lore book that they introduced, that you were able to unlock by completing seasonal triumphs related to the Wrathborn hunts. But you were able to see how the Fallen were able to fall under the sway of the darkness, and as an extension, Xivu Arath, by finding these towers of the darkness, these small little pyramids, which in my mind at least, are very similar to the pyramids where the stasis grenade launcher that you get with Becoming Light, the ones that you destroy throughout Europa. I believe it's the exact same looking things as those. At least in my head, that's how they work. So we've seen in Call of the Cryptolith that the Fallen discovered it on accident in the Tangled Shore, and the powers of the darkness and the whispers of the darkness started speaking to them. And ultimately, once they accepted the darkness, it talks about how they've been taken over, and chitin grows where ether once was, and it's kind of intense. But there was also another piece of the lore in the Imolent lore that was talking about Osiris kind of leading up to the last season, where he comes across a group of the Cabal doing the exact same thing. And the Cabal, again, while once a very strong militaristic force, thanks to everything that the Guardians have done, and thanks to the large failure that was the Red War, the Cabal are in a much more weakened state, and it's just, I'm curious, we're going to get a lot of great lore this season, especially with them. And I'm curious to see how all of this, again, will continue to play out in the year, because Caiatl's coming back, or Caiatl is coming. And are we going to face off against her? Is she going to become like a friend, kind of like how Aramis was in the Dark Below? I'm interested to see, because there's been this rumor based off of a cutscene that parts of the Guardian were going to team up with the Cabal to face off against the darkness. And so is Caiatl going to be that group of Cabal? And her, I'm going to call them the Blue Legion, because they have blue flags and blue banners. Her and her Legion of Cabal, are they going to be with us, or are they going to be against us? And we're going to see this next season.
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. One part of the lore that I'm actually really hoping that they acknowledge and perhaps expand upon with this current season would be, what happened to Calus's chosen? What happened to the Guardians of Earth who made the decision that they want to work for Calus, that they believe in Calus's ways, and they're kind of dark guardians? There was a small sect of guardians who pretty much, if you got the entire seasonal armor for Season of Opulence, I believe it was, you as a guardian are saying, yes, Calus, I want to represent your empire and your beliefs, and I'm on your side. So what I'm curious to find out is, just because Zavala and Osiris say no in the initial meeting with Caiatl does not mean that she's done trying to recruit us, as well as the darkness is trying to recruit us as well. So will she speak to those guardians who are working for Calus? Will she try to recruit us in a way where she can promise us more power, maybe more understanding of the darkness? Does she have insider knowledge on the pyramid ships and the darkness does she have insider knowledge on the pyramid ships and information she may have gleaned from her father Calus when he met face to face with the darkness? It was a very short bit at the end of the Season of Chosen trailer, but there is a section where it looks like it shows a dark Leviathan ship. Perhaps we go there searching for Calus to find out exactly what happened. I could see that being a end of the season event. Similar to the event we had at the end of Season of Opulence, where we went into the Leviathan. However, it was in a hive zone inside the Leviathan. So it'd be very interesting to see what they introduce here.
Yeah, specifically with that end stuff, there's a line in that end of the trailer where Osiris says, "There is no light here," and then you see a Screeb. You see one of the Scorn explodey guys. That's the best way to describe them. If you don't know what a Screeb is, and if I say Scorn explodey guy, you know exactly who a Screeb is. Because there was also a piece of lore regarding that. They were the question, especially amongst the Reddit Raid Secrets group, was talking about the importance of the Screeb and what that meant, because we didn't know if there was like a small little piece of flavor text, like it was a throwaway line where they were talking about the disappearance of the Scorn, and they said, is it because of the Wrathborn or is it because of Calus? And my curiosity is, like, with Caiatl coming in, we haven't seen Calus since the darkness showed up. The Leviathan disappeared. Some would say we've never seen Calus at all, because the Calus that we defeated was just a giant robot, but that's neither here nor there. My curiosity is, will he be making a reappearance now that his daughter has? Because he still, the guardians that he chooses, his champions were known as Shadow. If you encounter a guardian who runs, who has that title, has that seal, you see it above their name, they're Shadow. And we were, by and large, the most powerful Shadow that Calus had in his army. There was other guardians and other like members of strong races, like the strongest that he had seen in his travels, but there was none as powerful as we were. And Calus, all the time that he talked about it, he talked about while he was exploring space, he came up against a force, and we've believed it to be the darkness, because when Calus came and spoke to us, he spoke to us about stuff that was going to be happening in the future that led us to believe that there was going to be another collapse, or that the darkness was going to appear. And now that has. And he talked about, he would talk to us about how, we needed to grow fat with strength, and how we had the power of the light, but it wasn't the most powerful thing that he's ever seen, And I'm curious, as we continue to progress and explore this storyline and his family tree, his arc or whatever, what information he has as well, and if he will make an appearance to kind of shed some light on some new things for us. Because we haven't seen Calus in a long time. We haven't really done anything for Calus since Season of Opulence, which was before Shadowkeep dropped. It was the last season before Shadowkeep. So I'm just curious, what's next for us? What's next for him? What's next for his brood, if you will?
Whatever it is, it's going to be amazing.
I hope so. I really hope so.
In another bit of lore that has come out towards the end of Season of the Hunt, Bungie releases web lore One Exile to Another. It's a pretty short little web section, and it just kind of gives the vibe or the emotion or the feelings that Crow is having as he is about to make his journey towards the city. I'm actually very glad that I read this web lore. Mr. Tweezy and I had a little discussion last night on Twitch where I had certain opinions where I was completely wrong. I'm so glad that I read it.
I don't think you're wrong. Like your opinions are just as valid as mine. I had a different one.
Oh, yes. So, listeners, to sum it up real briefly, in One Exile to Another, basically, the Crow is nervous about moving to the city because while he'll be able to experience things he never has before, good alcohol, great food, friends, family, a bustling city, all of the emotions that come with that, there is also a risk factor where his ghost, Glint, tells him, you can do all this, but remember, do not take off your helmet. People cannot know who you are. You can do everything you want in the city anonymously, but as soon as you remove that helmet, people are going to feel a certain way about something you did in your previous life. In the middle of this section, Osiris shows up, and to briefly summarize what he says, don't worry about it because I was in exile too, and if you stick with me, I'll help you through this, and I'll help them see you in a way where they see your potential and your value, who you actually are now, as opposed to who you were in a previous life. Kind of becoming a mentor to Crow, if you will.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I was a little upset about how that went down. Like they're talking about all the things that they're excited about doing, and it's very small things, like Crow is excited to eat food that doesn't taste like metal and oil because all that he's experienced has been with the spider, and everything is contraband. Everything is smuggled. Everything is shipped in with other things. So he's looking forward to what he can experience, and Osiris recommends the ramen shop. You know who used to like that ramen shop? My boy Kate.
Oh, man.
They got rid of my ramen coupon and everything. Nah. I thought it was very weird that that was something that they did. It is a great ramen shop. But yeah, very much like the idea was that Osiris was kind of taking him under his wing and being like, listen, not like eventually you're going to get found out. You can't keep this secret for long. Eventually they will know who you are. And at that time, you can find me. You know, it was also like, you know, hey, like, I've got your back, you know. And I think it's interesting because we've seen over the course of the years, you know, we've seen the evolution of Osiris. You know, he used to be the great warlock, you know, the sun singer, who light was so radiant that it literally shone off him and people were blinded by the power of his light alone. You know, we met him in Trials of Osiris, and he's able to create these echoes of himself, these light echoes of himself that were able to explore the infinite forest and all of these different Vex permutations to understand how best to navigate humanity in a way where the Vex don't win. And then once we finished Curse of Osiris, we brought him back into the fold. You know, we saw him continue to be in exile, continue to kind of do his own thing, run his own, you know, run his own simulations of things. He is responsible for us bringing back, like, correct me if I'm wrong, he's responsible for the discovery of the sundial and us bringing back Saint 14.
That's right.
You know, him with a little bit of help from the Drifter brought back Saint 14, who took over for Brother Vance and you know, Trials of Osiris, Trials of the Nine. It's very interesting because we've seen him continue to be confident and cocky until this past season where he lost Sagira, his ghost, and he is now lightless. And the thing that we talked about on my stream last night was just my view of him is that he used to be arrogant because he was the greatest PvP guardian that we had ever known. And he believed himself to be unbeatable. And he now, without Sagira, there was a thing, there was a line when they were talking about what happens after the loss of Sagira, where Sagira had a message that she sent to Ikora, and the message said, he is not as strong as he thinks he is. Or he is not as strong as he pretends to be, you know, and we're slowly starting to see that more human side of Osiris. Like now he's at the tower, he's under Zavala, he gets to spend more time with his love, Saint 14, you know, and I think he's just slowly starting to think back on his life and think, you know, in his youth when he was young and brash and he would fight against the speaker in Saint 14 about the traveler and what the role of the traveler was and what was more important to study. You know, he was very eager to cast off all of those bonds that he had with people. And now that he's lost his light, you know, he realizes that he needs more people around him to kind of help him continue to feel as strong as he once was, in a way. Yeah. Deep.
Yeah. No, that's but yes, no, that really summarizes who Osiris is right now versus who he saw himself as. It seems like Osiris has really gone from offering solely his ability to interact with the enemies of the universe and gone into maintenance management with the Vanguard. You see him present in the Season of the Chosen trailer as Zavala's right-hand man. Mm-hmm. He's there to give his opinion and his advice on all situations Vanguard related. And right now, Zavala really needs that. He is starting to show signs of wear and distrust in the Traveler, and Zavala's been really going through it. So it's going to be very interesting to see the input that Osiris has on the Vanguard life and how Osiris will respond when it's time to introduce the Crow to the Vanguard.
Yeah, because
I can see him as an intermediary because you know Zavala's he's gonna lose it.
Yeah,
I see it happening.
Because like you also got to remember that Zavala and Ikora and xTweeziix were a fire team together. That's you know. Right. And while in the past we love to riff on the fact that xTweeziix was the one that told all the jokes and he was the fun one, like that fills a very important role when your job is to maintain the security of the city and all of its inhabitants. You know, there has not been a new hunter vanguard. For the longest time, the hunters left the city. It wasn't until the traveler reformed himself that the hunters came back to the city. So Zavala, obviously the rumors have been that Zavala is being corrupted by Savathun, and he is going to eventually turn in some way. And I've been hoping for a while that the Crow was going to play a part in it, and we'll see. But Zavala also, has a very heavy burden on his shoulders that I don't think a lot of people appreciate. Zavala is the leader of the Vanguard. He is the one telling the Guardians what they should and should not be doing. And as we continue to fight against more things, Cade is used to be the one that would kind of lighten the mood a little bit and kind of keep everybody laughing or at least have a well-timed enough joke to where the serious things, you could take a step back and kind of laugh before getting back into it. And now he doesn't have that. Ikora is very much off by herself still. She's still doing her research, but she doesn't fill the same role. And so I think with, Ikora asking Zavala to take Osiris in as a consul, I think it is also because she sees the weakness in Zavala as well and the burden that he bears. We have Saint 14 back. We have Osiris back, and Saint 14 and Osiris used to be, the Titan and the Warlock Vanguard members. They used to fill those roles of power. So it's also nice that there's someone who understands the burden that those roles carry to be there as like a voice to talk to. Hopefully Osiris doesn't get funny all of a sudden and start making quips. But I am hoping at the very least that Osiris kind of is more of a tempering force to kind of bring Zavala back to more of his old self, because he hasn't been the same since Cade died.
No, he hasn't. And yeah, I would very much like to see that as well. If Zavala can return to the Guardian that we know him as and wipe any doubts we may have about his corruption, at least temporarily, that would be a nice little
gift
thing
to
us, Bungie. I appreciate that.
I mean, remember, Zavala is the one at the beginning of the Red War when the Red Legion attack the tower. He is the one that brings everybody in to his bubble shield and protects everybody that was in that room. Titans as a whole are known for punching things, but they're also very much the ones who are tasked with protecting everybody. So hopefully he can get back to that and he can kind of let loose and have some more fun.
Oh yeah. Zavala, use the darkness. You want to.
Yeah. I don't know. Because the danger in the darkness is also if any of the Guardians use the darkness that are not us, from what we know of the dark future, the potential of it taking over and just turning bad for everybody is high. Anna and Eris specifically, bring about the end of the world as we know it, by aligning themselves with the darkness. And so I think that's another big thing is just because the temptation is great, the darkness is the ultimate form of temptation. And so if Zavala gives into it, will Zavala be Zavala anymore? Look, these are deep questions to ask on a Destiny podcast.
Oh yes, no matter which choice he makes, they have huge implications towards his character.
They do.
And it's very interesting that they can have such a dichotomy on this one person where one small decision, such as which subclass to use, can define his character and who he is and who his role will be throughout the situation.
Mm-hmm.
We are now within 12 hours of the launch of Season of the Chosen. and I'd like to take this segment to ask you what are some of the things coming this season that you're excited to experience in the game?
Things that I'm most excited to experience. There is a small part of me that is interested to see what they're going to do with the 2 Destiny 1 strikes that they're bringing back. I believe it's Fallen Saber and House of Devils are the 2 strikes. I'm very curious, just from from a lore standpoint, how they're going to bring those 2 strikes into the game in a way that's going to make sense for where the game is at currently. Because House of Devils is no more. Right. Like, I'm very curious to see how those strikes are going to be held or like implemented into the game and lore wise what they're going to mean. And also just how good is it going to feel to run those strikes again? I haven't ran them in 3-4 years now. So, also, do they get just thrown into the strike pool? I don't know.
I'm really hoping for at least small advancements in the lore to exactly like you said, like how do they make these strikes relevant and not quote unquote recycled content. I'm going to speculate a little bit here with the Fallen Saber strike. If you could somehow turn that into a we're trying to wake Rasputin strike, because I remember you do go into a Rasputin layer into that specific strike from Destiny 1. So maybe there's some sort of technology in there that can be used to awaken Rasputin from his current form, which is just a tiny little engram. Would be interesting to see. House of Devils, I don't know how they're going to make that. Yeah, there's really no way.
That one's hard.
Unless you somehow make it about the Wrathborn, because we do know that the Wrathborn are may be coming to the EDZ. As I said, there are rumors, and I guess we'll find out within 12 hours if we're going to have Wrathborn strikes on the EDZ, which would make sense to have them in Old Russia as well. So perhaps the Wrathborn are starting to do something. Who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah. I mean,
do we know if these strikes will be released on day one, or will they be released through as the season progresses?
I think they're coming day one. They talk about them in the same way they talk about everything else. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to talk about game design and storytelling here. I wouldn't be surprised if these were strikes that, as we continue to do the seasonal activities, they are strikes that we are kind of nudged towards doing to kind of help with it. Because I don't know if we're going to be like, if they're just going to show up in the Cosmodrome and they're there from day one. Are they going to be in the strike pool and it's just going to be a luck if we get them as the strike that we're running when we're doing our weeklies, which aren't even a thing. Oh, are those even going to be a thing anymore? Man, there's a lot of changes, actually. There's some good changes coming. There's some not so much fun changes. I'm not going to rant too much about the sword thing because, dude, that made me mad. If we're gonna be real,
oh yeah,
swords made me mad. Hey,
and you only have a couple favorite swords, and now they're telling you, yeah, don't really use those anymore.
Well, it's not even that. Okay. It's also just like we had swords, and those swords, like they brought in this new sword, right? The Lament, and it is the only sword that will go through, like, completely through a shielded enemy shield, right? Only one that does it. We only have 7 swords, and they said that 65% of PvE activity is being used with a sword, and they just think that swords are too powerful. So they nerfed sword damage instead of nerfing the more acceptable thing of, like, sword ammo capacity to like 30 or 40. That would have been fine. But you introduce this new powerful sword. That new powerful sword, I checked it out because I was very angry at this change. The Lament alone is responsible for 10% of PvE kills. A gun that was introduced in the last 3 months. 10% of the current EDZ kills, or 10% of the current PvE kills are from them. And because they introduced this powerful sword that has a role in Master and Legendary Lost Sectors and Nightfalls and all of this stuff, because we're using it, they're like, no, we messed up. Anyways, I'm not gonna rant too long about that. I'm glad to see that they're fixing the rocket launchers. You know, rocket launchers have felt weak for a long period of time. Really, the only reason why I've ever used one is because it's part of the weekly bounty from Banshee. You know, but I don't know, man. And also, aren't they trying to put Rasputin into an exo?
They are gearing towards that. They discussed Rasputin's exo body in the Dark Future lore book, but currently I don't believe they've said exactly what they're trying to do. We know they're probably going to do exactly that and try to put him in a Vex body. I mean, that would be probably the only thing who can handle Rasputin's coding, but you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But currently, I don't believe we have a plan for him that we know of.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense. I'd be interested with that, you know, especially because Clovis Bray is back in the giant Clovis Exo head thing. I'd be curious to see if he plays a bigger role in that. But also, I don't know how to feel about interacting with Rasputin like in real life. You know, like he's been Big Red for so long. You know,
that's right. Well, we'll finally have a body to take out our frustrations on. Rasputin he's a hero, he's a villain, he's a genius, he's a psychopath. He's so many things in one. And yet he's one of the greatest hopes that our species has at the moment. We have no choice but to rely on his insight. It would be very interesting to see if Rasputin and Clovis do interact once Rasputin is revived.
Yeah.
Kind of a AI father-son type deal. Just like Rasputin had with his son, but that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah. But yeah, man. No, I'm excited. I'm excited for this next season. Again, like the biggest thing that excites me every season is just more lore, more story, you know. It's easy to kind of feel the burnout at the end of a season, you know. Especially when it's like seasons like this. Not that this has been a bad season, right? But typically the first season that comes with an expansion is typically a little bit lighter on content because you also have the entire expansion content as well to work through, you know? So I'm hoping that with this being the first DLC season after the expansion, I'm hoping that we get a lot of lore and we can start either answering some of the questions that we continue to have, you know, who is Caiatl, you know, what's going on with the Cabal, what's going on with the Wrathborn. I hope we can answer those questions, but I also am excited for the fact that we're going to get more lore, which means that I'm going to have more questions within like 2 weeks about what does this mean and how does this fit in with this, and you know, trying to put together the puzzle piece that is our experience in the Destiny universe.
That's right. I feel like this coming season is really going to be the build-up as far as lore, because as we are getting multiple seasons for this Beyond Light expansion pack, or I'm sorry, this Beyond Light expansion, they're also really, it seems like, starting to build up the story of the Hive and the Darkness and perhaps Xivu Arath. We know that the clock is ticking on the Witch Queen, which will be coming fall 2021. So in this meantime, will we truly experience Xivu Arath, and what impact will that have on the story? What events conspire to bring about our face-to-face with Savathun?
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to find out. I'm excited to see these next couple months. I'm excited for the Guardian game, surprisingly. I want to see if we can get Warlocks on the map. Hey, Warlocks out there listening, Warlocks, I need you to really, really go hard in the Guardian games, all right? The Titans can't get it again.
Listen.
If Hunters win, I'll be okay with that, but the Titans can't have it 2 years in a row.
Listen, I thought the consensus was that we were all going to throw Guardian games for Titans last year, you know? So we need to get on Reddit and figure out who we want to win this year, and that'll be that. You know, I'm sad that we're not getting Crimson Days, but it also kind of makes sense, you know, because it'll be the first weekend of the season will be when Crimson Days was supposed to be, and that's just a little too soon, in my book. I still want to do the expansion. Shit. So, but yeah, man, Guardian games.
There's more than enough content to keep you occupied. It'll be difficult to add in another timed event within the first couple weeks.
Yeah, plus doubles in PvP is just not fun. Like it's a fun time if we had a lot smaller maps, but we don't have a lot of smaller maps right now. So it's just, let's just not do it. Let's skip it. Let's do it next year.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'd be looking forward to that.
Yeah, man. We got crossplay coming. We got a whole bunch of stuff coming. Eventually.
Coming soon. With changes being implemented this season now to accommodate that. PC users, watch out.
Yeah. Your recoil. Oh goodness, you have to deal with recoil now. Darn. Sorry. I'm a console man. I understand. Like, I've played on PC. Like, I've played with keyboard and mouse. I understand. But at the same time, I'm glad to see that we're slowly, instead of balancing for keyboard and mouse and then console separately, we're kind of just starting to bring everything back in the fold of one massive balance. So hopefully, they can spend more time working on the sandbox. They can not have to worry about having to work on completely different weapons for completely different ways that people play. So we'll see. Again, dude, the next 6 months of Destiny have me excited. Crossplay, the coming back of the Vault of Glass, more of this Destiny 1 stuff, figuring out what the Destiny content vault is actually going to be. It's a great time to be a Guardian. That's all I know. That's all I know to say, man. It's a great time.
Best time to be a Guardian.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you again, Mr. XTweeziix.
Thank you.
Now have our 6th episode of our podcast. We're really doing this thing.
Yeah, I mean, 6 in. Apparently, it's serious now.
Very serious.
But yeah, man, it's been a fun ride. I'm looking forward to 6+ more episodes with you, man, and continuing to explore this wonderful world of Destiny as we find out more stuff.
Yes, we're doing a really good job of painting a path through the Destiny universe for our viewers and listeners. But I want you all to know that this is leading up to bigger things. There are stories that we have not discussed yet. There are implications, multiverses, gods of gods, and it's a whole thing. So I really appreciate you staying, listening through our episodes, tuning in every 2 weeks. And please stay tuned. Enjoy the season of The Chosen, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks and give you our impressions.
Yeah, we will definitely give our impressions. We'll be able to talk more about what's happening. To plug ourselves real quick before we get out of here. First thing, if you guys like the show, if you follow us on Spotify or on Apple, podcasts or whatever, leave a review. Let us know what you think. Like, it sounds cheesy, and as you listen to podcasts, you're like, oh man, like they got to say it. But it really helps us get an idea of what it is that you guys like or what it is that you guys want to see from us. And as we've done 6 episodes and as we look forward to doing 6 more, we also want to get feedback from you guys, what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to know about. Is there stories that we're not talking about that you want us to spend an episode talking about? Like, let us know, man. We're available everywhere. Craig, where can they find you?
I can be found every Tuesday and Thursday at twitch.tv/Birduup, BIRDUUP. I can also be found at the Instagram and Facebook of the same name. How about you, sir? Where do we find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I am at Taylor Zeller. I'll talk about a variety of things. Obviously, I'm from the esports world, so some of my tweets are going to be about esports. Some of my tweets are going to be rants about swords and Destiny. You never know what you're going to get with me. Past that, I stream on twitch.tv. Of course, it's twitch.tv/Tweeziix. It's spelled XTWEEZIIX. The X's were cool, people. I'm telling you. I'm going to make a comeback now. But I stream late nights, Fridays and Saturdays because of work. I'm still trying to figure out what those times will actually be on a permanent basis. But look for my Twitter I'm going to try to get better at tweeting out when I'm going to go live there, so you guys can catch me there. I typically either stream Destiny or some other stupid game that I have on my Xbox. And like Craig will tell you, Craig was in my stream last night. Literally, I went from playing Gambit to I sat in the tower for an hour as we talked about the lore of the game, you know, and
that's right. That's
I
right.
have.
Didn't you get in a little bit
it.
of the last week of Iron Banner too?
I did. Dude. Iron Banner is fun. Iron Banner is fun. Stasis still needs to be balanced in PvP, but Iron Banner is fun. Yeah, I was knocking out all of my quests to really finish off all of the Adored wraps, but come on by. Like, we'll talk Destiny all day. Like, you think I'm done when this podcast is over? My wife is tired of hearing me talk about this game every day for 6 years. So, yeah, man. You can find us wherever, talk to us, let us know what you want to hear, and you know, we look forward to talking to you guys in the next one, man.
Absolutely.
All right,
See you guys in 2 weeks.
Later.
Bye.